So hello everybody and welcome back. This is Sandra from Plant Rich Sandra. Thank you for joining me again today. And again, I'm here with Carole. This is part 2 of my amazing interview with Carole, who is a fellow Nutritarian. And thank you again. This is awesome. It's so nice to meet you
nice
today.
To do this.
Yes, we're at Saddlebrook Resort, and Carole is here at one of Dr. Furman's retreats. I wish I could have been here with her for this, but she's just having an amazing time here. So if you didn't see the first half, be sure you go back and watch episode 11. My episode 11 is going to be the first half of our interview, and now we're doing the second half of our interview. Okay, so the question I'd like to ask you now is, do you have a specific favorite, like a prepared recipe? We talked about your favorite fruit, your favorite vegetable. For me, it's the red lentil in the Quick and Easy. It does require juicing carrots to make it, which is really the secret, in my opinion, to that recipe. I love to make that red lentil recipe that he's got. Do you have a favorite recipe?
No, believe it or not, I really don't. I kind of like to rotate through. I'll make a pot of, I love soups, but I like thick soups. So that's what I tend to look for. And I'm, cooking for one person, if I make a huge pot, I'm going to put a lot in the freezer so it will last for a while. But I really don't. I mean, when I stop and think about it, I'll change them. I'll try one and I'll like that for a while, and then I switch to something else. But I don't do a huge amount of recipes.
So you kind of make up your own thing.
Very simple cooking.
Yeah, me too. Do you have a big freezer, or do you mainly just work with like the little freezer above your refrigerator?
I have a freezer in my refrigerator. I have a second refrigerator in my garage, but I have a huge freezer in the lower level of my house, which truthfully I no longer need. I don't keep it full, but I have it, and that's where I put some things.
For me, I do a lot of batch cooking, and so I have, it's not a huge freezer, but it's a decent size, and I'll batch cook the beans, the whole grains, and the soups, and fill it. And then I'll use all that for months before I go out and buy a bunch more vegetables and batch cook again. And then I also do keep frozen fruits, that I buy at Walmart, Great Value, that kind of thing, that I make my smoothies with. Or I'll put, if I don't have any fresh, like you said with the blueberries, then I'll put some of that in my, like if I'm having oatmeal for breakfast, or make the smoothies and stuff like that. So
well,
yes, I
just
love my freezer.
recently used out all of the soups and stews and things that I had. Summertime, I tend not to want to do a whole lot of heavy-duty hot cooking. So in the fall, that will be one of my tasks again, is to refill the freezer.
To refill it. Do you use tofu? Have you gotten much into like the tofu scramble in the Quick and Easy? Do you cook with tofu much?
Yes, but I don't use a whole lot of it. There are just a lot of foods that I use very moderately. They're much more like, they're an ingredient, they're a seasoning. I like tofu. I just don't use... maybe once or twice a month, if even that. I like edamame, so I may tend to grab the bag of the edamame before I'm going to go look for the tofu.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was buying it for a while. Mainly, I was buying it for that tofu scramble recipe. I like that with the turmeric, and I would freeze that in bigger and take it and have it for lunch and that kind of thing, not just for breakfast. And then there were some times when I would just put cubed tofu into my soups, and just put it in there. And then also in the beginning I was putting beans in my soup, and then I'm realizing I don't even know how many beans I'm getting in a bowl when I scoop up my bowls. So then I stopped. So I evolved from that, and I don't add beans to my soup anymore. I cook my beans separately, and I freeze them in 1 cup servings, and every day I pull out a different bean. They're all in the freezer in 1 cup containers. And so I'll just mix and match, or I'll pull out one of the yellow lentils, and that pretty much turns into mush, but I don't care. I still love the flavor of it. And that way I can control how many beans I'm getting every day.
Got it.
And
That's
if I want to
great
mix it in
idea.
with my soup, I'll mix it. And if I want to eat them separately, I'll eat them separately.
I tend to eat a lot more of my beans just in my salad. I just put them in my salad and I'm fine, because that salad is my biggest meal of the day.
Yeah. For me, if I cook my beans, they come out soupy and like thick. And they don't. I've never thought that they would look good in a salad. Like the canned kidney beans are all separate and everything,
Got
and
it.
mine don't look like that when I cook
Okay.
them. So I only put canned ones in my salads,
Got
and my other ones that I cook at home in my Instapot and before on the stove, I just eat them hot, you know. So, but that's just the way that I
It's a
cook
good
them.
idea. I like being open to new ways
Yeah.
of eating things.
Yeah. Okay, so my next question, I believe you kind of already answered. I was wondering, do you ever get bored with your current routine or your food patterns? And if so, what do you do if you feel, you know, like you're tired of a specific thing, like say oatmeal for breakfast, you know? Do you, and not that you eat oatmeal for breakfast, but do you ever get bored with something and try to switch things up?
You know, my veggies for breakfast and then my smoothie, that's just a given what I do. I change out what goes in my salad. If I'm going to eat a soup, I'll eat different soups. And it isn't that I get bored with it. I eat the same thing over and over, and it works, and there's no need to change it.
Yeah.
So if if for 4 days I've had steamed broccoli, then I may get cauliflower,
Right.
you know, and I'll do that until I finish the cauliflower.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of cauliflower. I don't
Oh, I love
particularly
it.
love it raw or steamed. I'll eat it, but it's not one of my favorites. Okay, now Dr. Furman, a lot of high starch people who are whole food plant-based high starch, like McDougall followers, they don't really get this whole onion slurry thing that Dr. Furman talks about, that he's been in the past few years, when he did some more research about that the onion needs to be chopped up finely while it's still in the raw state to release some of the goody cancer-fighting things that are inside of it. And they don't really get that, so they don't worry about that. They just disregard that, that advice of his. Do you, before you cook onions in a cooked recipe, do you make a point of like slurrying them up in any way?
Not especially, Sandra. It's something that I do. I may chop them. I may not chop them quite that fine. I tend to take a great big onion, cut it in half, slice thin rings, and that's how I'll water saute the onions. When I'm putting them in a soup or a stew, I'll probably do them in the chop wizard. So, I can do a finer dice, I can do a coarser dice, but I don't stand and, take it down to the slurry stage.
Right, okay. All right, and how do you stand right now? You don't have an issue at all with emotional eating. That's not been a challenge for you lately? You're good?
I'm very aware sometimes of when there's stress in my life and when something is going on, but part of the journaling that I do now, I write emotional things so that I try to be aware of it when it's happening. So that it doesn't blindside me.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So that's really helped you.
And I do a lot of work with the therapist. I've really gotten much stronger at identifying, what goes on in my life. I have no family left at all. I came from a very small family, and I have been very aware in the last several years of an aloneness in my life. Not that I'm lonely, but an aloneness.
There is a big difference.
And there's a huge difference, and that's something that I'm constantly working on. I've thought about, maybe I would like to do the foster grandparent program, so I'm going to look into that. I'm very aware of my emotions. I've also had way too much drama in my life brought in by other people, so I tend to very quickly identify it. And, when somebody no longer has the time to pick up the phone or to connect with me, that's when I do the 5-finger wave, and it's like, you're done, you're out of my life, and I'm fine with that.
So you've come a long way in emotional intelligence then. You've really, you've been working hard on it, and that's been paying off for you, and it has improved your whole quality of life, hasn't it?
And I'm a firm believer everybody should be seeing a therapist. The world in which we live today is very hard to navigate. I have significantly cut down on what I watch in the news, what information I take in, because it's distressing, and I don't want to be distressed.
Right.
So
Yeah, I agree.
work
I
with
have
the
cut down
emotional
too on
component.
that. Yeah, and I got rid of cable. I get my TV now just through streaming services, which means
Okay.
no commercials. And so, I've cut down on that barragement of all the
Yes.
commercials, and that's really helped me a lot, the stress
Absolutely.
and all that. Okay, so is there anything, and my next question you already answered, do you eat for entertainment? And you said no. Is there a challenge right now that you are currently pinpointed that you're working on? Anything specific? Like, would it be the exercise you're trying to add, or anything specific right now that you're working on?
I have 5 very, very senior cats, each of whom has health issues. During the winter months, I got to the point where it was like watching every day, are they going to be there? What I've had to do is turn it around to, I celebrate every day that I have them. I have an amazing pet sitter while I'm away. They're behaving for her like they don't for me, which is really interesting.
That is funny. Okay. All right. So my last question is nuts and
Yes.
seeds. Do you feel like you've ever had trouble limiting?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Peanuts were my all-time favorite. I would buy a 1-pound bag of 50% less sodium roasted peanuts at Trader Joe's, and I would tell myself I was going to use them for cooking or whatever. As soon as I opened them, they were gone. So I
At one
don't
point,
snack
that was
on
a
nuts.
challenge for
Oh,
you then.
absolutely, absolutely. And I keep nuts in my freezer. I make my own cashew milk. I make almond milk sometimes. I will use nuts, walnuts, almonds in recipes, but I don't snack on them, and they don't call to me at this point.
Okay. So
that's
you overcame, but you picked your
for
own
the
method
day,
to overcome.
and that's the way I look at it. It's
Yeah.
for today. I'm not craving them.
Yeah.
So.
For me, it was a bit of a trouble at the beginning, but I pre-measure my ounce, and I use mixed. I use a little walnut nut, and I just stop at the end of the ounce,
Yeah,
and so
have
if I
trouble with
pre-measure,
that.
I'm good.
Yeah, I do not have an ounce as a snack every day.
Okay. So is there anything before we close here that you would like to say? Is there anything special burning? Because
Yes,
okay.
this is my core belief. You cannot say to somebody else, tell me how to do this. You have to do the work. You have to read the books. You have to read constantly. You have to understand what this way of living is all about. Because I really believe if you don't, it won't work. And that's been my experience.
Yeah, it has to be an inside-out motivation.
Absolutely.
I agree. I agree with you 100%. And and everybody has to learn that.
Yes.
They have to learn how to do that on their own.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this has been so wonderful. I
Oh,
just
thank
cannot
you.
tell you how much I appreciate this. It's been great meeting you, and I want us to stay connected. Our
Absolutely.
community, the Nutritarian, the whole food plant-based, we need to remain connected.
And support one another.
And support one another. And
Absolutely.
learn from each other. Thank you so much, Carole.
Thank
It's
you,
been
Sandra.
awesome. Thank you guys for joining me today, and hope y'all have a great day. And if you've enjoyed this interview, please be sure to click like and also to subscribe if you haven't already. And even more, would you share? Share it, because there aren't enough Nutritarian channels on YouTube. So, help us out here to get the word out. Thanks again. Everybody have a great day, and we'll see you next time.